Hey Ellie, how are you doing?
I'm good. What about you?
I'm good. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes. So I'm Ellie Mattox. I'm going to be a junior at Vandegrift in Austin, Texas. And I'm a volleyball player for Austin Juniors, which is a club in Austin, and also Vandegrift.
Nice. And I heard recently you guys just won nationals, right?
Yes, yes. We won nationals in Vegas this year.
Yeah, it's very cool. I'm very honored to have you as a guest on this podcast.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here. Sorry.
Yeah, you're fine. So as I told you before, this podcast is meant to bring to light experiences of competitors like across the nation, mainly relating to like mental health experiences, just so Uh, first of all, I just want to give a voice to competitors because people often see us as just like people that don't really have emotions and we just like do what we do. And second of all, it's important to give a guide for other competitors to be able to see how to manage things that we have and use our stories as examples. So if you want to kind of give insight on your own personal experiences with stuff relating to mental health or mind experiences that got in the way of you like reaching your goal, that would be great.
Absolutely. So I was on the 16s team. I was on a team called 16 Adidas, which is the top team at AJV. But 2 years ago, I was actually on one of their lower teams. I was on their third team, and I did not have a good experience whatsoever. I didn't have a good relationship with the coach. I was riding the bench for most of the season. And no matter what I asked the coach, like what I could work on to get more playing time or to get on the court, because I love playing, she would always come up with an answer that either didn't make sense or had already worked on it because I asked her previously. And it just seemed that she was not like willing to let me get better, and she would just continue to tell me like like you don't deserve to be on the team, like there's no reason for you to be here, you just need to sit the bench, don't say anything, and because you don't deserve it. And as I was 13 years old at the time, 14 years old, and that's very hard to hear every day, because we were at practice 3 times a week, so I'm hearing and practice like was 3 hours long as well. And so like for 3 hours, 3 days a week, like I'm hearing you're worthless, you don't deserve to be here, you're not a good player. And I obviously, like, I wasn't mature at the time. And so I definitely like I took that to heart, and I was like, okay, there has to be something wrong with me. I don't deserve to be here. Like I began to believe the things she was saying. But then, I had a great support system. Well, I had a great support system, with my parents and with my friends and with other coaches. And, they just said like, okay, just work on what you can work on. Don't listen to the coach and work your butt off. So I would spend time. We would have 3-hour practices. I was playing school volleyball, and then I was doing lessons outside as well. So like my life was volleyball. Like it revolved around volleyball. And so I worked my butt off during the school year and during that summer, and I ended up making the top team the next year at tryouts through that hard work. And ironically, the coach that told me I was worthless and said all this stuff, she got released from AJV. She got fired. And I just took that as like, people can tell you so many things, and it doesn't what people say don't really, like, they don't define who you are as a person or who you are as a competitor, who you are as a player. I knew my skills, and I knew that what she was telling me like didn't reflect what they were. And then so I continued to just like work hard. I used her negativity as fuel. And I mean, a year after that, I won a national championship. So like it kind of proves that like what other people say shouldn't affect what you actually are.
Yeah, definitely. That's a very tough experience to have at such a young age. And that's very inspirational that you took that negativity, didn't, let it push you down, and you took it instead to lift yourself up, and now look where you are.
Mm-hmm.
And that's essentially, like, I guess the important message from your story, as you nicely said at the end, is that your worth and how you play, or even if it's an academic competition, how you study, everything is dependent on how much you can do and what you can improve on. And people just straight up telling you that, like, maybe she didn't straight up tell you this, but like indirectly just saying like you're worthless doesn't really mean anything, because you can't do anything about that.
Yeah.
But like people, like you said, like your family or your friends or the other coaches that gave you actual feedback on like what to work on, those are the people you should listen to actually improve on. And doing that will actually make you feel better. But like you said, bogging yourself down with what like people who don't have supportive or constructive feedback do, that doesn't really do anything. And so sometimes like uh usually it's the people that just don't like you, not necessarily the coaches. And so when you have an experience with a coach like that, it's hard to say that I shouldn't listen to this person
Mhm.
because they're your coach. And so you kind of have to, and I'm glad that you figured that out by yourself and that didn't lead down to like a horrible path. But some people have trouble like differentiating what I should listen to or what I shouldn't listen to, just because sometimes they get it from a coach and they think that their coach is right, because that's like they're your coach, so you should listen to them. But the reality is that your coach isn't perfect either. And sometimes honestly they're just insecure about their own things and try to project that onto you. And so the thing to recognize is when somebody doesn't give you constructive feedback, they're not they're not trying to help you improve. And so you shouldn't really listen to what they have to say, which I'm really glad that you did that.
Mhm.
And uh, you were able to use that to be successful. So that's just like something for competitors out there. If somebody's trying to drag you down, then don't let them drag you down. Instead, do what Ellie did, like use their negativity as fuel and listen to the people who actually care about you and give you love. And yeah, just do what you're good at.
Mhm. I definitely think that having like a big support system like I did is really crucial, especially because I definitely know that I could not have gotten through that experience and through that year alone. I had a bunch of other coaches, helping me along and saying, like, this isn't normal. Like, you are good. Like, you are worth it. You are a good player. You do deserve to be on the team. And that was very, very helpful.
Yeah, that's another thing. Sometimes what competitors will do is like let their problems, they will keep it to themselves because they think that uh, other people like don't want to hear them. But you just need to find a support system that likes you and wants to give you the care that you need. And then yeah, just it's okay to tell people your problems. Like that's what we're here for. We're here for you, and we want to see you succeed. And if somebody else is bringing you down, that doesn't mean there aren't people who want to bring you up. So definitely having a support system of people, and not, sometimes when one person or even like multiple people are trying to bring you down, it might feel like the whole world is
Mhm.
telling you that like you don't belong here or you're worthless. But you have to sort of look past those people, and it's sort of the recognition or realization that honestly their opinions don't really matter,
Mhm.
because they really don't have any like value or worth. Like you can't really do anything with what they say. And sometimes it's just listening to the people that are talking to you. um when you're like mad or frustrated, it's hard to listen to people that are trying to help you, because for some reason our mind tries to build this like wall, like they don't understand what I'm going through, so how could they possibly help me?
Mhm.
But trying to isolate yourself like that, just doesn't work. And sometimes people don't really need to understand what's going on to help you. Sometimes it's just the reassurance that you're doing something right,
Mhm.
and that really goes a long way.
Mhm.
So definitely having a support system to get you through experiences like that, and not just like closing yourself off with those experiences, is definitely helpful. It also gives you a way to get those thoughts like out of your mind and outside of like your body. So that way you're not constantly harboring them, and you
Mhm.
have sort of like an outlet to take them out. And then you don't have all that sadness and pain inside of you.
For sure, for sure. I think another thing that helped me along the way is that I realized that she's not, kind of like you said, like she's coming from a place, or that coach was coming from a place of anger and, resentment. Maybe she's having her own issues in life, and she's projecting them onto me and onto, like this 13-year-old girl, which in it is itself is horrible to do. But like I realized that I didn't know what she's going through at home. Like I don't know her backstory. I don't know this. And so I think in the beginning I was, of course, like I resented her. I did not like her at all. But then I realized that like she definitely has issues of her own, as does everyone, as does I. But and I think that also like helped me a lot with not like entirely, that helped me become a better person, most importantly, and a better competitor as well. Is realizing that the people that are saying these things, they're not, I mean, if it's not coming from a place that's constructively criticizing you, and it's coming from a place of like anger and resentment, like that's their issue, that's not yours.
Exactly. And sometimes it just takes a matter of asking them, hey, are you okay?
Mhm.
And uh, really understanding like why they're saying the things that they're saying. Because sometimes, I said this in another episode, sometimes it's not even that they hate you, it's sometimes that they just hate themselves, and they see you as a better like version of who they want to be. So then automatically they hate you because that's the image that they want to see themselves in. And
Mhm.
when they can't fulfill that for themselves, then they start to ask themselves, why was this person lucky enough to be like this? And not why was I not able to be like this? And sometimes it just takes a matter of talking to them and helping them reach that place where they want to be in. And that those types of experiences are the best, because not only do you take away the hate that they're giving you, but
Mhm.
you make them want to give you love because you're giving them love back.
Mhm. For
And
sure.
so sometimes like the people that are trying to hurt you, they're insecure themselves and just start taking that out on you because you're who they want to be.
Mhm. That's a very good perspective. I didn't really think of it like that, but yeah,
Yeah,
I agree.
yeah. I've that actually happened to me a lot. Like one thing that happens to me a lot is like people comment about my voice because they can't really, people that want to like win, I guess, win the spelling bee and GOB like me, or anything that they want to be that I kind of fill their own image, they'll comment on my voice because I guess that's like the really only thing that they can comment on. And so what I usually like talk to them, like I'm like, hey, what's up? Because it's not normal to pick on someone for one small thing, especially something that they can't change,
Mhm.
because you can't really expect them to do something about it.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so I usually just straight up like ask people like, hey, are you okay? And 90% of the time they end up saying like, hey, I'm sorry, I I'm just like really insecure about this. And then I end up like helping them make their own, like help them set goals and make like a path towards what they want to achieve. And it works. Like they stop sending me the hate and we're friends now. So that's always a path you can take if somebody's giving you hate.
Yeah, they're definitely just projecting their own insecurity onto you for sure. That's good that you're like helping them though. I don't think I would have the the maturity to do that for sure. I just kind of let
Yeah,
my coach go.
yeah. I mean, you can definitely do that. Like I just like I just want, the world to be a better place. And I feel like if you just let that hate go, it's just gonna go somewhere else.
Mhm,
And I don't want somebody else to like go through the same things that I did from
mhm.
that person. But like definitely if you don't have the time or the energy to deal with someone, then it's totally fine to just like ignore them because you can't help all like 7 billion people in the world. You're only
Yeah,
one person.
that's true.
And yeah, that's another thing is like realizing that you're one person and you can't do what everybody expects you to do. And that goes back to like sort of what your coach was doing to you, right?
Mhm,
Like uh, I guess you were uh playing volleyball and then this person is demanding so much from you even
mhm,
though you're doing the most you can. And I guess part of the solution is recognizing that you're doing the most you can.
mhm.
And when somebody else is like telling you to do something that's out of your reach, then uh, first of all, sometimes you just need to tell them like that, I can't do that. Like I'm doing the most I can right now, and I can't do more than the best I can.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
that's just like that's impossible. You can't do more than your best.
Yeah.
And then if they keep pursuing after that, then yeah, that's clearly like they're just projecting their own insecurities onto you. Sometimes it's just they don't understand what you're going through and there's just like a miscommunication. So you need to tell them, and that works some of the times. But then past that, it's usually just they're projecting their insecurities onto you.
Yeah, I definitely during that season I reached out to her a lot and I was just saying like, "Hey, like what am I doing that you don't like? Like I just don't understand. I'm cheering for the team. I'm very supportive on the bench. I work my butt off in practice. I'm working out outside of practice as well." And she would just, just come up with an answer that again, like I said, like it just didn't make sense. Like she would just be, "Oh, like you're not fast enough." I would spend 2 months literally like running sprints, doing all this stuff. I would come back like twice as fast as I was. Like, oh, you don't jump high enough. Okay. You don't set high enough. You're not strong enough. I was like, okay, when does it end? Like, it
Yeah.
just, yeah.
Yeah. In that case, it's like that's like that type of feedback, it might seem so. In that, there's another thing like knowing when to differentiate whether it's constructive or not. Like you can't jump high enough. That's like sort of constructive, but like tell me what I'm supposed to do to jump
Yeah.
higher, right? And like sometimes when you ask people that question, they genuinely don't have an answer because what they were asking of you is not necessarily what they were seeing from you. They were just coming up with a question to uh honestly just make you sad.
Mhm.
And again, that's like projecting insecurity.
Yeah. It was, sorry, another example of like kind of what she did was there was a game and I wasn't playing at all in it, but I was cheering for our team. Our team wasn't playing that well. She goes up to me, she pulls me aside and she was like, "Hey, like you need to correct your energy." And I was like, okay. I was like, "What do you mean? Like I'm smiling, like I'm cheering on everyone." And she's like, "No, like you're the reason why this team is doing bad. This team can sense, like through some telepathic communication, the girls on the court like can feel that like you're not feeling happy for them, so they're playing bad." I was like, okay. Like you're telling me that the girls that are playing in this game right now like care so much about what like I'm feeling on the inside and they're projecting it and how they're playing. I was like, that does not make sense. But she would just find a way to like blame every single like bad thing on me, even if I'm 50 feet away. She'd be like, "Oh, you're the reason why this is like why we're losing, why we're not doing good." And it just didn't make sense.
Yeah, that's really tough. Like right now when you look back on it, like from because you're going to be a junior, like it makes sense that that stuff is like completely unfounded and illogical. Like
Mhm.
when you're 13 or 14, that's like if your coach told you that you
Yeah.
would believe that. Like it would be hard not to believe that. And
Yeah.
that must have been very tough to go through. Like if she's blaming the team's loss on like you, but you're not even like playing in the game.
It was
Uh,
weird.
and yeah, that would be very weird. In those cases where people are just like blaming you for things that aren't even in your control for like a completely random reason, honestly, like just don't listen to them. Whenever that happens to me, like I just don't listen because I'm like your opinion is just invalid. Like
Yeah.
yeah. But it can be very hard to like control in the moment, like not to get upset about that, because essentially what that person is telling you is that this like loss or this failure was your fault, even though you didn't really even contribute to it. And that just makes you feel like, like why am I here if I'm just like making them lose? But sometimes you have to just actually look at why the thing happened and analyze it for yourself. And then in that you realize the person is just like saying something random to throw you off.
Yeah.
And so
Definitely. Oh, sorry.
no, you can go ahead. You can go ahead.
Well, like kind of as you were saying, like in that moment, I'm like 13, 14. I took it to heart. And I mean, I think right after that, I went to my parents crying and I was like, Mom, Dad, like she's blaming this loss on me. And all I did was like breathe and cheer. Like, I don't understand. But, like looking back on it now, and with like who I am today, like I laugh at it because that's really all there is to do. Like it's ridiculous, I'm a better person because of that whole experience. Like I wouldn't change what happened, but like it's just funny.
Yeah. And that's like another thing, like putting value into, sometimes you got to put value in your own beliefs and what you think, no matter how like influential or high position the person talking to you is, because sometimes like the person is just wrong. Like in that case, if it would be very wrong to assume that somehow like telepathically you cause your team to lose. But like if you believe that you really were just like cheering them on and doing the most you can, then you should believe in that. And when you have that self-confidence and like mindset to believe in what is important to you and what you think is right, it's hard to listen to what other people say to you. And sometimes you have to know like when to listen to yourself and when to not. And again, that's just when somebody's giving you like constructive, logical, like founded feedback, versus when somebody's just saying like the most random things that you can't like control. And sometimes even when people are giving you like logical, constructive feedback and it's something you just can't do, it's okay to tell them, I just can't do this. Like, I just can't. And chances are, if they're taking the time to give you like logical, constructive feedback, they would understand like why you can't. And if they don't, like that's on them for not seeing you for who you are and seeing you for who they want you to be.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's kind of just putting a lot of value in yourself and what you believe. And in the end, when you do that, it's hard to be knocked down by what other people think. And it's easier to show other people that they're wrong. Like you're more motivated to do things that will prove the other person wrong when you put a lot of value in yourself, compared to putting value into what other people say.
I also think that the results for like looking at things in a negative perspective versus like a positive perspective are like completely polar opposites. Because if I would have taken that experience and I would have been like, oh, I am bad, oh, I'm this, like I wouldn't be on the top team, I wouldn't have the ability to play in college, like I wouldn't be where I am today and who I am today. I definitely would be a lot more insecure and a lot more, and I don't even know if I'd be playing volleyball still. Like I didn't think I would have quit if I didn't take that in a positive direction, because it was just, I mean, it was really bad.
Yeah, definitely. And that's like reframing is really important. Taking things in a positive light and not making them negative is definitely like a very, very powerful tool, because when you take things in a positive concept, you're going to grow positively. There's never an instance where you can take something negatively and grow positively, because that's just not how that works, because your mind is going backwards. So you can't possibly move forward. But when you put your mind on a track to move forwards, you're always going to move forward.
Mhm.
And it might not seem like it in the moment, but when you put your mind to it and believe in yourself and keep working at it, eventually it always pays off later. And
Mhm.
it's sort of living for that moment and not like losing faith,
Mhm.
that gives you the energy to do good rather than dragging yourself down.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree completely with that, for sure.
Yeah.
And it was, I think it was very interesting, because seeing, like, looking back and kind of like reliving what that coach did to our team and did to me personally, and like then seeing what my coach this year did to our team and to me personally, like, he was very uplifting. If I asked him, you know, like, what do I need to work on, he would give me direct answers, like give me feedback, give me constructive criticism, and like we win nationals. Like, it's just very like, get fired, win nationals, like which one's better?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And sometimes we can't, we can't change the past, and we just have to accept what happened and then grow from it. But
Mhm.
you can definitely do better in the present, right? And so that's the thing. Like, if you ever had like a traumatic, or to anybody that's watching, if you had like traumatic experiences like that where somebody really put you down, there's no point in worrying about them, especially because you shouldn't give that person value,
Mhm.
and you should give people that actually care about you and give you support value. And the only thing that you can do from those experiences is from yourself and grow from them, right? Learn how to avoid people like that from those experiences. Learn how to take their negativity as fuel. Learn how to build a support system that will always be there for you when those negative people are around you. And learn to believe in your own words and beliefs rather than depending on somebody else's image of you, for moving forward always. And yeah, honestly, just living in the present and not worrying about what happened in the past, and only looking at what you can do in the present that will make you a better person. That definitely helps with like having a more positive mindset, because you're not thinking of what happened or what could happen that is similar to what happened. You're only thinking of what you can actually do in the moment to make sure that that doesn't happen. And even when it does happen, you're putting yourself in a position where you're not affected so bad by it. It's kind of like if you're in a survival situation, like a tornado is about to hit your house, instead of worrying about the tornado that happened like 5 years ago and just sitting there and worrying about it, actually living in the moment and actually preparing your house for the tornado is going to do much better for your life. And that's honestly like the analogy that works for any scenario. I know sometimes it's really hard to get past like really traumatic memories and things like that, but the only way you can move on is if you live in the now and do what you can in the now.
That's very good. I was like,
Thank you.
I'm not sure. Do I have to add anything?
I mean, you don't have to if you don't want to.
Okay, you definitely summed it up really good. So I don't know what I can say.
You're fine. You don't have to say anything if you don't want to. If you said what you want to say, then that's enough.
Okay. I think I did. I don't know. You definitely said it all. You definitely summed it up very well. So
All right, thank you. All right, well, I guess that's it, right?
I think so. Thank you so much for having me on.
Uh,
It was fun talking with you.
yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for coming here. Your experiences will definitely be like inspirational for people that are watching.
Of course. Yes. Thank you. Thanks again.
All right, thank you. Bye.
Bye.